when we hit 21 million, then the miners will be incentivized with Michael Saylor.
Yeah.
He is just buying like shit tons of
hmm
Bitcoin. Only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist. What do you think will happen when we hit 21 million? We talked about 21 million Bitcoins will only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist. What do you think will happen when we hit 21 million?
hmm Well, yeah. So right now, there's a smaller and smaller number of Bitcoin being produced over time, and it hits like a maximum number. It actually takes like 100 years, right? But we're most of the way through that. I think there's probably already 20 million or so already out there. So there's only maybe a million left that'll ever be created. So right now, new Bitcoin are created when the miners, the Bitcoin miners, verify a new block. And so that's how new Bitcoin are kind of issued to them as like a reward for doing all that computational work, running the network. Once that runs out, they're going to have to be compensated by the small transaction fees that happen on Bitcoin. And so this may be more detail than you wanted, but
Now
you can
go
take it
for it.
anywhere you want to go. But basically, miners are the people that run the Bitcoin network. They run these data centers all around the world, and today, majority of their revenue is coming from new Bitcoin being issued, and a smaller percentage is the Bitcoin transaction fees. As fewer and fewer Bitcoin are produced and the network grows, it'll shift to being more about transaction fees than new Bitcoin being mined, and eventually it'll be zero new Bitcoin being mined, but they'll still make money from transaction fees. So I think what that basically means is that the supply of Bitcoin is not going to keep growing. So if you want Bitcoin, you're going to have to buy it from someone willing to sell it, which is how most people do it today already. But some people mine them to get brand new Bitcoin. So anyway, that's like a simple way to think about it is once the supply, there's no more ever created, you have to just buy one that already exists from someone else. And so that is the price of Bitcoin is who's willing to sell one.
So is that how do I say this? Is that like already set up to where when we hit 21 million, then the miners will be incentivized with transaction fees?
Yeah, I'd say that's already happening today. It's just it'll gradually shift more and more to the transaction fees over time.
And then, does the system ever need to be updated? Like, for example, Bitcoin, nobody knows who it is.
hmm
And so, will it need to be updated? And if it does, who does that?
Yeah, I do think Bitcoin will need to be updated for to become quantum resistant, right? So quantum computers create this risk that we talked about. And so, Bitcoin has a mechanism for it to be upgraded. And the way that it works, since there's no central authority that controls Bitcoin, right? So anybody can propose an upgrade to Bitcoin. There's what are called the core developers, some of the people that work on it, like the open source project, kind of volunteering or they're getting paid by donors. There's also the miners, the people running the network. There's exchanges like Coinbase that play a role. So there's this whole community of different participants in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And for an upgrade to happen, like to make it quantum resistant, there will be various people who discuss proposals about how to do that. Coinbase might help with that, or the core developers have proposals. And essentially, for Bitcoin to be upgraded, everyone has to agree. I mean, not everyone. You actually just need more than 50%. So let's say that 51% of all the people running, the exchanges, the miners, the core developers, they all sort of decide, okay, this new proposal is the one we're going to adopt, and that like at least 50% or more move to that new proposal. That is Bitcoin. That is the chain that has the most people on it using the most computational power. So it's truly a consensus mechanism. All these people have to come into agreement. Now, there's pros and cons of that. The downside of it is it's harder to get that many people to agree on something, so it can go a little slower. But the upside is that you're never going to get some small group of people who can take it over and unilaterally do something to harm Bitcoin.
Okay, that was actually another question of mine. Michael Saylor,
Yeah.
he is just buying like shit tons of
hmm
Bitcoin. And so is it good for the Bitcoin market for somebody to have that big of a stake in it?
I think it's good. I mean, he's obviously a bull on Bitcoin, but I don't, it's not like he can own like 50% of all Bitcoin or something like that. It's too big right now, like in the many trillions, right?
Okay.
So, there's going to be various groups that come in and try to acquire Bitcoin positions, but that's good. I think it's just driving up the demand.
Okay. Okay. And then just another question I had was, you know, will we ever see anything like investing for your kids, like IRAs, Roth IRAs, 529 college tuition thing? Like, is there anything like that that's going to come in the future where you can set aside money for your kids or your grandkids or whoever you want, and without opening up all these different wallets?
Yeah, well, so in some ways, this is already happening today. In fact, like there's some members of my family, when they were born, I gave them like a Bitcoin, right? That their parents kind of put in a wallet just to hold on for future, and they were kind of laughing at me too because when I did it, it was like $200, and I was like, hey, maybe someday this will pay for their college tuition or whatever, and they kind of laughed at me, but they haven't sold it yet, so that's good. So in some ways, it's already happening, but I think these IRAs and like these different types of tax advantageous accounts, I'd have to go look at the specific details on each of them, but there's certain that have permissible types of investments in there that are allowed or not allowed. We're constantly trying to chip away at these rules to make it easier where, I mean, people should absolutely be able to hold crypto in there just like any other asset class. And actually, we need to make it easier for people to do that on Coinbase. That's something we're still working on, is to open up these kind of retirement accounts and tax advantageous accounts. We have some customers are asking for it now, so we'll probably have to do it soon.
Okay. Okay. And then I'd kind of touched on this earlier, Bitcoin. I mean, there's a handful of them that seem to be the mainstays that are going to be around for a long time. But then we see all these, for lack of a better term, trash coins coming out. And there's been some scams in the industry. FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, you had all these big time celebrities vouching for it. Turned out to be a complete scam. I mean,
Yeah.
how do people navigate that are new in the industry?
Yeah, so there's no doubt. I mean, crypto has attracted its fair share of scammers, right?
Just like anything else,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the internet, the early internet, and even still to this day, right, is like these emails from Nigerian princes and all kinds of scams on the internet. Technology is a double-edged sword, right? Like anytime you make a technology, like a shovel, you can use it to build something or hit someone over the head with it or whatever, right? And financial services technology, I think, does attract some of the wrong actors, but it also attracts like the right people who can build things. And my mental model of the world, I always try to remember, is like, I think, like roughly speaking, 99% of people are good, 1% are bad. So there's always going to be bad people who try to do these things, and some of them can attract a lot of headlines and get really big in the public psyche. But you have to remember, like, there's 99 people behind every one bad one that's trying to do the right thing and build good things in the world. So we have to be careful not to like just say the technology is bad because 1% of bad people try to abuse it. But I think for the average person coming into the industry, I mean, look, it's a lot of basic stuff, right? It's like if someone's offering you some crazy yields that sound too good to be true, like it probably is. If you're just learning about something for the first time, don't put all your money into it. Like I would say that's true of crypto, but it's true of anything in life, right? Like a lot of people who are getting into crypto for the first time, I tell them, all right, put like 1% of your net worth into Bitcoin or something and just see how it goes for a couple of years. And, if you like it and you want to start trading other ones, you're learning about it, okay, put in 2%, 5%, whatever. There's people who have like 50% or more of their portfolio in crypto too, but they have different levels of risk and comfort with that. And then of course, you got to figure out, what company to trust, right? Like sometimes sometimes there's companies overseas that are offering certain products and services that are not allowed here in the US. And, that can be interesting because it allows you to live on the frontier. But if you're going to live on the frontier, you know what? You might take some arrows too. And so you've got to sort of have more personal responsibility. Like the government's not going to protect you in that situation. You need to know what you're doing to really look out for yourself.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.